Well, welcome. I hope you're well. In the prior session, I began a conversation about the number 35 for men. And what I would like to do in the next few minutes is perhaps share what I think that number represents and how in my personal life it has been perhaps a lighthouse, a way of guiding and directing my path, and a way of reminding me of my true north. For most men, we have been conditioned. I wouldn't use the word by society because society has no feelings. Just as in the same way as governments have no feelings, companies do not have feelings, people have feelings. Therefore, we have been conditioned, usually by our families, our community, our tribe, and the various variations of such units. We have been conditioned to behave and to act like our forefathers behaved. The year is 2022, the year of our Lord, 2022. Today we still behave and act in many ways, and rightly so in a number of instances, like our forefathers behaved in the 17th and the 18th century. There's been a big shift. Within the area of manhood, maturing, and being responsible, there have been changes. For example, if you go back to the 19th century or the 18th century, I could use the former as a case in point. The life expectancy of a man was roughly about 29 years, between 25 years and 29 years, if you were lucky. If you had children, 3 out of 5 of them died before the age of 10. Things were very, very, very hard. We had not developed the medical advancements we have today, and in many ways we underestimate and we do not assign the level of importance to the technological developments that we have seen through the genome revolution, through the medical revolution, which has extended the quality of our lives, but also enhanced the quality of our lives. In 1945, the life expectancy had marginally increased from about 29 from the century prior up to about 40. 45 years was the life expectancy of the adult male. If you were not killed at war, you were killed either by an illness, hunger, or whatever variation that there was. Between the 1945 period and today, we've made so much progress as a group, both male and female, within the area of intersexual dynamics, within the area of dating, marriage. There are things that we do very poorly, and still, like we did in the past. has to do with when we make the decision to move from one marketplace, and therefore one phase of our lives, to the other. From the dating marketplace to what I call the relationship marketplace, the marriage marketplace, the cohabitation marketplace. In the 1940s, it was much easier to find that the average age of a man for marriage was about 23 to 25. The reason was simple. You got married at that age, and at best you had 15 years to live before you died. Today, the life expectancy for men in the West is about 85 years. 83 years to be precise in certain countries, but it's increasing and it's improving every single year. So 85, give or take, is the life expectancy. We have added in less than a century, we have more than doubled the life expectancy of the average man. Now, in the 1940s, if you had 10 to 15 years to live after you got married, then marriage as an institution, as a commitment, as an obligation, as a responsibility, was treated very different. It was important. You had 10 years to make the best, to procreate, to leave a good legacy, to set the right path, to be the right role model for your offsprings. We had less distractions, we had more focus. Today, with a life expectancy of 85, the idea that a young man can get married at 25, respectfully, in my opinion, a man in the West, with Western beliefs, Western values, but in a Western backdrop, with modern dating as the palette of that backdrop, the idea that 25 is an acceptable age for getting married is completely asinine, in my opinion. And most young men have done a disservice completely by not being guided. There aren't enough fathers in the houses, in the families, in the communities. There aren't enough good men to teach young men what it means to be a man and what the expectations of manhood entail. And so, most young men are doing the best they can with what they have, both resource-wise, wisdom, understanding, both in terms of judgment and discernment. 25 years, unfortunately, is way too long. Hence, 35 is what I recommend to most young men as a marker. For some people, your time might come before 35, and for other people, yours might be after 35. But hear me out. I'd like to share some of my tenets, a set of principles that have guided my life and how I have lived my life. I don't think they would work for everyone. What I would hope will be to explain the why behind some of these tenets at a latter session, in a different session. But let me share perhaps a few tenets. These tenets have a core purpose. Number one, to enable you, the man, become the best avatar, that you can become. Recognizing that you can dream and you can have a vision of whatever you want and whatever life you want to lead. And to create an avatar that enables you to fulfill that possibility, that potential. The tenets are to enable you to become the best bedrock, to become the best pillar for society, and to make sure that you are ready. Ready for a number of things. Ready for failure, ready for success, ready for your responsibilities, ready for death, and ready for the unknown. "35, from my experience, is the time needed to build a frame. A frame that can actually take the stress that life puts on our shoulders. Now, there is a saying from the books of antiquities, and it says that my yoke is easy. My yoke is not burdensome. And if you're carrying something that is too heavy for you, that yoke has not been given to you by the universe, by the Lord, by God, by whatever you choose to call it. The point of that message is to say, at the core, the universe wants you to thrive. The universe wants you to be successful. The universe wants you to discover your purpose, to fulfill that purpose. The universe wants you to experience the vicissitudes of what life offers, the highs and the lows. But it wants you to be able to experience that cycle without breaking you. And therefore, nothing is put on your shoulders that you're unable to lift without due regard. Hence, a man's frame is necessary to be able to accommodate and absorb whatever life puts on your shoulders. Stress, pain, sorrow, tribulations, temptations, difficult seasons, and success. All of those are built for shoulders. We use 35, and I use 35 as a marker for a number of reasons. Number one, from when I was a toddler to about 18, and in most Western countries, you are still within the leadership, the authority, the guidance of another person. At that age, or in that age group, very few people, if any, have developed their reasoning faculties. Very few people have the ability to reason both deductively and inductively. As a matter of fact, we have a number of intellectual faculties of the mind, and generally speaking, our experience of life is a result of how we use our intellectual faculties. Now, let me not be mystical about such faculties. Imagination, perception, memory, focus, and reason. Imagination, perception or perspective, memory, focus, or reason. Now, there are a few others, but I don't see the purpose of getting into longer lists. Each of those intellectual faculties determine your emotional state. The way you use your imagination determines the dreams, the goals you have in the future. So the first thing we have to learn is how to dream. Our perspective, our perception allows us to see things in different ways. And the ability to see things in different ways is necessary as part of your manhood. So that when you have failure, you do not simply resort to choosing the path of least resistance, which, unfortunately, for most young men these days, we have one of the highest suicide rates, primarily because most men have not been taught that you need perspective. Everything seems very dark right now, but we know that as far as we know about time, the sun comes up every day and it goes down. There is daytime and there is nighttime. To assume that it's only dark means you don't have perspective. You lack perception. Your memory allows you to store the experiences that you've had. But as a young man, you hold on to all of your memories. And most young men assign the same weighting to every memory without recognizing that the purpose of your memory is simply to enable you to replay, to retrieve, and to store success experiences. So that when you need motivation, inspiration, encouragement, you do not look without, but you look within. You draw from your past experiences through your memory, things you've done in the past, to remind you that victory is possible. But you also need your memory to caution you into not making the same mistakes over and over and over. When we touch a hot pot and it burns our hand, our skin, we remember the next time we should not lean on the pot, especially if it's on the fire. Such experiences protect us from pain in the future. Focus enables you to choose something in the future, to choose something in the present, and not to be distracted by all the various things around you, but to stay in focus, to concentrate until you achieve the task at hand. Focus enables you not to be distracted by shiny things. Relationally, focus enables you to say, the woman before me, for whom I have chosen and dedicated my life to, is the one. Could there be other things and other temptations out there? Yes. But with focus, you can avoid being distracted. In biblical terms, Adam was not focused enough on the trees and the plants and the fruits that had been given to them for consumption. The lack of focus drew their attention when the temptation came and they resorted to a fruit that was not supposed to be on the menu. Something broke their focus. Now, the books of antiquity says that it was the serpent. Well, it depends on who you believe. It doesn't matter whether it's a story, and it doesn't matter whether it's a parable, an allegory. It doesn't matter whether it's fiction, non-fiction. Who cares? The point of the matter is that the story tells us that both parties lost their focus. Imagination, perception, memory, will or focus and reason, the ability to think, the ability to attract information, condense the information, and extract from all of those information, all over the world, all over the place, what you need. Similarly, the ability to take a set of information, one information, and break it down into multiple variables, multiple things that could be done with that information. An idea, Tesla, an electric car, rides, data, interesting, algorithms, batteries, solar panels, Tesla battery pack, the Boring Company, interesting, Twitter. To take something that is one idea and to bring forth to the world several derivatives of one idea comes from the ability to reason, to think. The way we use each of those faculties determines our emotional state. If you're unhappy, there's something you can do that can change your state from misery to happiness. Why? You go into your memory, you extract from your memory an experience, and suddenly you can change how you feel. Prior to 18 years, it becomes very hard, except you are an exceptional person, and except you were conditioned by your parents, your guardians, or your influence group to think in said ways. Between 18 and 35, for me, is where I think most men can make all the difference. It will come with some sacrifices. One of those sacrifices, and I think the most important, the most potent, the one that comes with the highest risk, is choosing a spouse, or what I call mating. So I give a number of tenets, and I have to apologize for taking a while to get to this section. But I intend to make the next few minutes a summary. Number one, as a young man, as a modern man, the most important thing you have is not what hangs between your legs. That is a tool. There is a saying, to the man with the hammer, everything looks like a nail. It's not your responsibility to nail everything that looks like a nail. The tool is there for a reason. As a young man, your most important gift is your purpose, your goals, your dreams. Between 18 and 35, you have a limited amount of time to bring forth into the world, to bring forward into existence that dream, to achieve something, to make something of yourself. There are distractions. One of the biggest distractions, sadly, are women. Now, one of the greatest inspirations are also women. So don't take this the wrong way, but recognize that relationships will kill your dreams. There's always a Moses, a dream, and there's always a Pharaoh, someone looking to kill that dream. There's always a Christ, and there will always be a Herod. Relationships and women will kill your dreams if you are still in the premature stage. Moses and Christ. Similarly, at the right time, you will find that you need a Mary and you need a daughter of Moses. Someone to preserve, or the mother of Moses to preserve, to nurture that dream. It's too complicated to play games with your future. So I say, Your dream is number one. That should be your focus. Most people go to college, and most people need about 4 or 5 years to graduate from college, 18 to 23 on average. You graduate, you've been educated, but you're still dumb as fuck. Forgive my language. You know nothing. You know theory. Now, Yogi Berra said, in theory, there is no difference between theory and practice. But in practice, there is. I can watch basketball games every single day, or I can watch football every single day, but I have to get on the pitch and play to have the experience. Some people teach and some people do. So there is almost a need for you to become obsessed with your future, so that there are no distractions, things to sabotage your dreams. And therefore, once you've graduated, the journey of life begins, but you are 23. Malcolm Gladwell said and accounted for the number of hours that any person needs to achieve a level of mastery, competence, skill, and that number was 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours, now I put a twist, 10,000 hours of constant and continuous self-growth, improvements, introspection, and development. You can spend 10,000 hours doing the wrong thing, but if you do not introspect and you do not reflect on the pain, you will not grow. So it has to be 10,000 hours of progressive development towards a goal. There are 2,000 work hours every single year. So if you divide 10,000 by 2,000, you get 5 years. Most men, we do not travel in a straight line. We squiggle, we make mistakes. For some people, and on the average, if we assume that it would take 20% more time to get to that 10,000 hours of mastery, then that means we will need 10,000 hours plus 20%. That is 6 years. Now, most people graduate from college and they take a year off. Travel, play, apprentice, before they actually begin to work. So you graduate at 23, you take a year for whatever reason, you start working earnestly from 24, 6 years takes you to 30. 30 is the first stage of the magic number. At 30, you've achieved something. You have been an apprentice, you have studied, you have developed working skills, abilities, knowledge to be good at something. But you've been in a safe place. You've had the security of a job. You've had the provision of another man's or another woman's risks. You have not taken yours. So at 30, that is when you begin what I call the phase of failure. You pursue that dream you have. The first phase gives you security and possibly financial independence and the ability to earn. Before the family comes and before the responsibilities of a family appear, you allow yourself to be immersed into what could be potentially the most exciting phase of your life. Failure. 5 years. Half the time it takes to become a master, you dedicate to failure. I don't care what your purpose could be. Chasing rabbits, starting a business, teaching. It doesn't matter what you do. 5 years, from 30 to 35, allows you to form that frame that you need as a man. Once formed at 35, you can take on any challenges. You've stayed faithful, you've learned, you've pursued your dreams, you've failed, and therefore the responsibilities of a relationship can be put on your shoulders. Fatherhood, being a husband, being a partner is something that you can take even in its worst forms. 35. And guess what? You still have 50 years to lead whatever life you wish. I hope that's been useful.